So after 1 year on the road, it's time for some upgrades on the truck. Today, we're gonna be installing new airbags, new shocks, and a high performance air filter. So here is the stock air filter, and today we're gonna upgrade it to an AFE Power lifetime washable reusable filter. This one took almost 4 months to get, but these right here are also hard to find. I've actually been using that one for quite a while and just been cleaning it out and putting it back in because I couldn't find a replacement. It's time for the new one to go in. Up next, we're gonna upgrade our factory shocks to these Bilsteins. There is the front one and the part number for that. And here's the rear and the part number for that. So the reason we're changing shocks now is it's been 1 year of full-time on the road, 45,000 miles, and a lot of heavy pulling. And we've been doing that on the factory shocks. So we figured this is a good time as any to upgrade to the Bilsteins. Out with the old, in with the new. All right, that's one done. Let's go to the other side and do the other front.
So these shocks are better than the factories, right?
Yeah, these Bilsteins are a big improvement over the factory shocks they give you. Another one bites the dust. The fronts are done. Now let's go work on the backs. We might have a situation. Things have gotten way out of control. I saved the passenger shock for last, thought it'd be the easy one. Boy, was I wrong. My B&W turnover hitch, the stuff under the bed is in the way from getting the shock off. If you have a B&W turnover ball, this guy right here is in the way of this bolt and this shock coming off. So you have to undo all the bolts, drop this square tubing to get the shock off. So I started taking things apart, and now I'm gonna take the hitch out of the bed, hopefully release some tension, and maybe we can get this shock changed. All right, so we loosened all the bolts for this, and now we can slide this that way and get to the shock. Super awesome design, B&W. Way to make sure everything still works. All right, we finally got the shock installed and all the hitch stuff reinstalled. Man, was that fun. We are finally done installing the shocks on the truck. We started with the shocks because we thought that was gonna be the easy job today. Little did we know we're gonna have such a big problem between the B&W turnover components and the shock mounts. And since it took so long, we're out of time today. So tomorrow we're gonna come back and we're gonna swap out the airbags. So we're back, it's the next day, and today we're gonna swap out the airbags. We already have airbags installed on our truck. We actually have the Airlift 5000s, and they've done well for us for the past year. However, we have a really heavy camper, and it's got a 4,900 pound pin weight. So we're having to run 100 PSI, which is max capacity on our current bags, to do the job. So today, we're gonna upgrade to the 7,500 pound airbags so we can do the job with a lot less effort. Some assembly required. But I will say one thing about the instructions. Whoever wrote them can't tell the difference from his left and his right, because in one step, the left is the left and the right is the right, and in the next step, the right is the left and the left is the right. It's really confusing. And then they have pictures that are just as confusing. Now that we have our airbags assembled, it's time to crawl underneath and take off the old ones. There's the driver's side airbag. It's about to come off. That's one airbag out of the way. Let's go work on the other one. So here's the difference between the old and the new. The old ones are 5-inch airbags and they're rated for 5,000 pounds. The new ones are 7-inch airbags and they're rated for 7,500. So we have the old airbags off, and now it's time to do some prep work for the new airbags. We have 2 more brackets left and we're ready to install the springs. So this plate right here is actually the upper mounting plate, and it's slightly different than the 5,000 pound model, so we have to change it out. And this right here is a whole new bracket that has to be installed. So here is the old plate for the 5,000 pound shocks. We have to change that out for the new one for the 7,500 pound shocks. And then there's another bracket that goes right here on the frame rail and hangs down. So we're gonna change that out real quick. So we have the new upper mount plate changed out, and we've installed the new upper mounting bracket on the frame rail. It's time to put the airbags in. In order to do that, we have to lift up on the rear of the truck to create more space between the frame rail and the axle so they'll fit. So by lifting up the jack, we were able to unspring the suspension and give us more room in there to work with this airbag. Okay, we got the airbags installed. Now we just gotta finish putting on the hardware and tighten them up. All right, so there's our airbags fully installed. About to fire up the air compressor and check for leaks. We aired the airbags up to 80 PSI and went and drove around town. It's been 15 minutes now and we just checked. The airbags are still holding 80 PSI. We crawled around the truck and verified that all the air connections are not leaking and the pump is not overcycling, which means the entire air system is holding pressure. So as far as I'm concerned, this was a successful upgrade. Some lessons learned. 1, if you're swapping shocks and you have a B&W turnover ball, you're gonna be very angry when you get to the rear passenger side because the underbed components for the turnover ball interfere with the shock mount and you're gonna have to do some disassembly just to get the shock out. And 2, if you're changing airbags and going from the 5,000 pounds to the 7,500 pounds, it's a lot bigger and it's a lot harder to get in there. And the instructions could use quite a bit of work because halfway through they forgot which side was the left and the right, and it gets confusing. So there's one more thing we got to do to the truck before we get ready to get back on the road, and that is get new tires. Now our first year full time we went 44,000 miles, but they are time to be changed. These backs, they're not real bad, but our problem is the front up here. So you see that? It's wearing real bad on the outside edge. Now I know that's because we carry the camper, and I know you're supposed to rotate, but to rotate correctly, you have to pop all 6 tires off and change rims. Now, we had the Michelin LTX AT2s, and they were the stock tire we had from the factory, and we actually liked those so much, we're gonna put the same ones on, because we liked the ride, and we liked how smooth it was, and how it carried the camper. I would like to get some all-terrains, but I don't really want to deal with the road noise. So we're gonna head up to Discount Tire and get some new tires right now. We just got the new tires installed and check them out. Here's the rears. And here's the fronts. Now I know they were worn out, but you don't realize how worn out they are until you see them next to a set of new tires. So the good news is the truck's riding better than ever, and since we got them installed at Discount Tire, they offer free balance and rotation for the life of the tires. So no matter where we are in the United States on our travels, they will actually rotate them for free, and they will do it the correct way for a dually, which is to break each tire off the rim and swap rims. So now that we got the new tires on, there's only one thing left to do before we get on the road, and I'll tell you more about that when the part shows up. Our last order finally arrived, and that is this Icon dual shock steering stabilizer kit. So hopefully that prevents us from ever having the Ford Death Wobble. So the first step is to remove the stock steering stabilizer from Ford, install the new Icon brackets right here on the differential cover, Install our links, or our shock tabs on the steering arm, and then install the shocks. Here's the Ford stock steering stabilizer shock. We're replacing this one guy with both of those. This guy right here is pretty weak. I was able to push him with just my arms. These, I have to put all my weight against the ground to push him in.
I can't do it.
It's just pretty tough, isn't it?
It's real tough, yeah.
All right, we have our new dual shock steering stabilizer kit installed. Time to go take it for a test drive. So we just did the first test drive with the new dual shock stabilizer kit installed, and there is definitely a difference. Now, we never experienced the Death Wobble, but I can tell you right now, the steering wheel and the way the truck reacts is completely different than it used to be. I can't wait to see what it does when the camper's hooked up. So the last thing we need to do to this truck before we get down the road is give her a good bath. So let's go wash her down. So we just attempted to wash the truck at the RV park, but because they have such hard water, it actually looks worse now that we've washed it than before we started. So round two, we're going to the car wash.